Well, welcome to the Time to Shine Happiness Show. I am so excited to be here today. And today we are diving into the power of building meaningful connections. Visibility is important. And yet, what happens after people notice you? How do you turn that attention into relationships that truly matter? I can't talk. But we've got an incredible guest, Alex Peralta, and he is going to help us unlock the secrets. So stay tuned. Not my skill set, nor do I want to learn it.
Sometimes, because I put up stuff which I kind of test
in the wilderness. I don't know if I was the best one to teach them that. However, and although it was a really
that when you said, I was like, oh,
the baby out with the bathwater.
I do know where that.
So for me, rather than doing something half-heartedly or like just half. Hello, Miss Beckley. How are you doing this morning?
Hello, Queen of Queens. How are you doing?
I am doing well. And I just want to welcome you, our audience. We just wanted to welcome to the Time to Shine Happiness Show. We want to share inspiration and joy and to help you, our audience, connect with what lights you up and brings you success in not only in your life, but in your business. And I'm one of your hosts, Barbara Ellison, and I am a life transition mentor. And I work with career professionals who are burnt out and unhappy and help them to live their best life through getting into mind-body architecture and how that works together. Anyways, but here is my fabulous co-host. She's also the producer. So Barbara J. Beckley, good morning.
Hello. So my name is, my Queen just said, my name is Barbara J. Beckley, and I am here as a co-host, Time to Shine Happiness Show. What I do basically is I say, okay, what is your true purpose? And I look like that to people, and they look like, oh my gosh, she looks crazy. I said, no, I just want to make sure we dig deep because your uniqueness counts. Once we get all that out the way and we figure it out, then you got to have visibility so people know who you are. Okay, you know who you are, but does anybody else know who you are? So what I do is I get people on video. I get them to brand their own TV show. Like Barbara said, I produce, I coach, whatever. The list goes on. But the biggest thing is making sure that you come across to be the lighthouse to the world and bringing the people that you want to help. Yes, Barbara.
Absolutely.
Because that's why we got to connect with Barbara.
Right. Because there's power in having meaningful connections, whether it's business or whether it's life. That's one of the biggest things is because we have to have that visibility for what we do, and that's what you do. Yeah. You're all about getting visible with people. And then and when we can build visibility, like one of the things that I always say is that people do business with people that they know, like, and trust. Yeah. Well, how are they going to learn to know, like, and trust you if they don't know who you are, what you do, and why you do it? And so that's why I think you and I both gel. Besides, we have a great first name, but it's about building relationships. It is about building those relationships. It starts with making authentic connections with the people that you are trying to do business with or do life with.
Yes. I know we had another guest on that. Oh, I think it was Bob. Yeah, Bob Graham. Remember how he switched it a little bit with the like, trust, and I like he said
and understand.
Well, he said love too. Yeah. Love that person too, and then also believe. You got to believe in that person as well.
Right.
And I thought that was really nice concept with that saying that people always say, oh, you got to know, like, and trust somebody. He said, trusting is one thing, but you really got to believe in what you're trusting in them to. I said, oh,
exactly.
I like that.
He took it to a step further because Yeah. I mean, people don't want to just be seen. They want to be understood and they want to be valued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And how are they going to do that if they don't? And how are people not going to know who you are because that you see them unless you get yourself visible out there and let them know who you are, what you do, and why. And I think the biggest thing is, why do you do it?
Yeah. But then you got to understand why you do it yourself before you even get out there to be. And that's why I always do purpose and visibility together, because I feel like they're together. Because if you don't, and I always tell people, if you don't understand your why, understand why you're doing what you're doing or like what you're doing, then the visibility don't really count, because it's like you're not all the way half up there. Because what's going to happen is, and this is what I always tell people, Barbara, if you don't really understand your purpose too much, you don't understand your why too much, you're kind of still feeling around a little bit, and you don't have that strong connection with you. When you do the visibility, and when people start coming back to you saying, well, I don't understand, and I don't like that, and all that talk, it's going to hurt. You're going to get like, oh, what are you talking about? Get upset, get depressed, all that kind of stuff happens. That's why your foundation is what you believe in yourself. Because I don't care what anybody says. And people have said it to me, but no, some people said it to you without you knowing and you knowing. That kind of sucked. Or I didn't really like what Barbara did on that. Not Barbara Ellison, talking about me, because I don't want to get in trouble with you or whatever. But that could have, kind of tore me apart if I didn't really believe in what Barbara Beckley and my purpose. Right. So saying all that, it's just it's really detrimental to understand it, because I see so many people say, oh, I know my purpose, da da da. And as soon as we start doing the visibility stuff, well, I don't really know if I don't feel comfortable. Yeah. I'm not confident in that area. I said, but you just said this was what you
Right. And I love when you talk to people about your purpose, passion, and drive.
Yeah.
Because if you don't have your purpose that's tied legitimately to your passion, legitimately there. Like with me, my mission is to make happiness the norm rather than the exception.
Yeah.
Hence the name of the show. And you and I gelled over that, because that became, we want people to be happy and be visible in what they do. And in order, because if you don't do that, you're not going to be successful, because if you're trying to live by somebody else's rules,
or follow,
and so many people do that. Oh, well, we need to do that as Barbara does it, or we need to do that as Barbara Beckley does it, or no, you have to do it the way you do it. Like you and I were just on a show that about being your authentic you.
Yeah, being your true self. Yeah.
You have to be true to yourself, because if you're not true to yourself, how can you have an authentic business relationship or a familial relationship if you're not being you, if you're living behind a mask? And I truly believe that more people, there would be less divorces and breakups if people learned how to listen. Not only to other people around them, but listen to their own inner promptings. That I'm not being true to me. That's I don't think I quite agree with that.
Yeah.
And especially if it's something you're doing that doesn't quite gel with you. Like you and I, we always talk about what makes your heart sing. If it's not making your heart sing, why are you doing it?
Yeah. You know what? I'm glad you brought about listening. And I want to take it with that example about marriages and couples and stuff.
Yeah.
And I want to be you said be transparent and open, right? So, and I tell people all the time, I was married for 25 years.
Yeah.
Got a divorce last year. 25 years with this person. And a lot of people are like, oh, how some people hear that the first thing is, oh, I'm sorry that you went through that. And I said, you know what? It is, it's not no breakup or whatever. It's kind of like, yay, to a certain extent, because you was with that person for a while. So somewhere down the line, you loved them, you liked them, you dealt with them, whatever.
You married them.
I married him, but I had to. This is going back to the purpose and loving on you.
Right.
Way back at the beginning. Now, this takes some deep. They were talking about deep. When I talk about deep getting your purpose, when I first met that person, I learned to believe me. I learned a lot through the 25 years, good, bad, and whatever. But when I first met that person, there was flags. What was the reason? This is where we go with the why and everything. What was the really true reason why we got married? And first people say because we love each other. You know, we met each other, we vibed together, stuff like that. And I said, okay, so what broke? I had to ask myself what broke in our relationship. Well, when I got married, I was young. I seen everybody else. This is telling on me now. This is the
right.
I see all my friends, the whole group of people that I was hanging around. They were all getting married, starting their family stuff. Then you just had Barbara. Like the old show. Yep. Then there's Maud. And then there's Maud. Well, then there's Barbara. And that was just it. And I was looking around like, to the point where the couple, the people that were my single friends became couples, they were moving away because they were, you know, doing their thing, which totally understand that. But then it's just me by myself. So the first person, Barb, that came into my world that was like, that put a ring on it, I was like, oh, okay. And then my little my self-confidence was that low at the time, you know, low self-esteem, all that. See, all that was hitting in. So all that created me getting married to this person. Right. That was the true reason. The love's plus, but I had to dig deep. So I'm saying all that because when you start digging deep to see really your passion, your purpose, the why, and all that kind of stuff, that can save you, and that can really tell you yourself, okay, is this really what I should be doing, or is this really what it is? And that takes some work, and that takes a lot of being honest and open with yourself.
Exactly. And in fact, there's some friends of mine and I, we were talking about relationships the other day, and this applies to life and business. I've gotten into some business relationships that I should not have done. Whoa, should not have done. Just because we didn't see eye to eye on how we wanted to run business and how we wanted to do business and how we wanted to show up in our business. So absolutely. The thing is that so often we go into business and into marriage or life when we're young and when we least know what we want in a partner, a mate, a husband, a wife, whatever it is. Yeah. And that's when we least know what it is. Well, then all of a sudden, how many years later, for me, it was 20 years later, I realized I cannot spend another 20 years in this relationship that is not working. 20 years. Well, then got married again, but then I was more selective and says like, okay, yeah, fine. I know what I do. I know what I don't want. Yeah. But I didn't know who I was. Yeah. Did not know who I was. Well, then 20 years later, he passed away. Yeah. So now I've been with a man that didn't know what I wanted in a man. Then I was with a man that I didn't know who I was. And now I'm a widow. Wow. Oh, yike. Had no idea who I was. Well, now some friends of mine, we were all talking the other day and it was like, gee, Barb, do you want to get married again? I went, absolutely. I want to be a wife again. I said, because I now know what I want in a man, what I want to feel when I'm with, what kind of a relationship I want to have, what kind of partnership I want to have. Well, you have to be in partnership. Hate to tell you this, people, but you have to be in partnership with yourself. Authentically and joyfully and ecstatically and vibrantly and passionately. Yes. Yeah.
It starts with here.
It starts right here.
You can't get away from it. It starts here. Because as soon as you don't start here, then everything else is going to be all over the place. And then you can, like you said, Barbara, get in business. I'm glad you brought the business relationships too. Getting in business relationships. I was just thinking when you said it, I said, oh, Lord, there was like two. I just remembered it so. I was like, what did I was thinking of?
And then you're like, oh, how do I get out of this? Yeah. Because I look back now on some of the things that were transactional instead of transformational. That's powerful. There's a difference. Yeah. And I was in a business situation that it was like, ooh, should not have done this. But now how do I get out of this?
Yeah.
And, you know,
Yeah.
luckily it was, in some ways I look back now, and luckily it was taken out of my hands and the company was shut down. So I kind of didn't have to do it myself. However, yeah.
You got out of that one. Nice.
Good.
But there's
It
some
was
that you
not
have to
good.
like put your foot. Some things it won't shut down. Sometimes you have to just basically say, okay, I'm going to have to really talk to this person or whatever. We have to come to this, like, yeah.
Yeah.
And but you know what? That's growth, and that's good, and you're
That's
learning
good.
and you're growing and you're learning yourself even more and more. And then when you think about it, you're not wasting your time anymore. You're not wasting the other
Exactly.
person's time.
Yeah.
It works. It
Yeah.
really works.
Because when you can make that shift, then when you become visible, that's the first step. And that's what Alex is going to talk about. But what happens next is what determines your success.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do with your visibility?
Yeah.
And like for you and I on this show, we are now going global. We're now in the global range. Alex lives in Belize. We've had people on from Europe, and we're excited about that because now we're appealing to a more broader audience. We're still, our tenant is the same, that we want happiness to be the norm. But what does it take to be happy? Well, you have to have a successful business if you want a business.
Yeah.
We all have bills to pay. We all have bills to pay. So whether we do a business for ourselves or we're in a company that we're hating. I've done that too. I have been in a job where, oh brother, I can't wait I've got to quit. I cannot go on like this another minute in a job. And finally one day it was like the final straw, and it was like, you know what? I'm done. And technically I did give notice. Technically, it was only 3 hours, but technically I did give notice that I was not coming back because it was the final straw. I don't want people to get to that final straw. I want people to learn to be exceptional in what they do, and to help them show up powerfully and with purpose. All of those things, to step into I always think of it, like I work with people who are in retirement, to step into their next chapter so that they were clear on it. And that's one of the biggest things that Alex is going to be talking about, is to build business relationships that go beyond just making a sale, or just, that ones that you can use what you do to make an impact. To go from being burned out, stressed, unhappy in what you're doing, to doing something that gives meaning to your life. And that is what the important part of this show is about, is that we want people to be able to do that, because that is, like we talked about, that's what it determines your success. And you can have success. And what does success mean to you? Because success for some people means, oh, they've got 1 million followers. But are people coming to them and asking them for advice? Yes or no? I would rather have less followers and have more impact, and to be able to share with people one-on-one, have a conversation with people, to say, hey, you know what's going on in your life right now that you would like to have some help with? Or what's going on right now in your life that you would like to have someone to celebrate with you? So many people have forgotten how to celebrate their accomplishments, how to celebrate just the little things in life. They have forgotten how to do it, or they have been taught to make it as like, oh, well, don't brag on yourself. You don't toot your own horn. That's kind of how I was brought up, that you didn't toot your own horn. So like even just a couple of weeks ago, Barb and I, we were on a show called Simply Fab, from the Fab Five and from Tamara Hunter. And one of the things that I really realized as I was preparing for that show was that I am a TV show host. as I was getting ready to promote being on that show, the little voices in my head were trying to tell me that, who are you that you think that people are going to want to come and listen to that kind of a show from you? And I had to stop and say, you know what? I'm good at what I do. And that is when you can get to that point and say, hey, you know what? I am good at what I do. People do want to know what I do and how I do it and why I do it. That is when you can measure your success. It's not in how many followers you have, with millions or thousands or whatever. I was so excited when I got up to 1,000, likes on one of my videos on TikTok. I was ecstatic because I had people that commented that it impacted. Oh, I never thought of it that way. And that's what this show is about. And we want people to come on and just get visible for what they do to make an impact in the world. Yeah. What they do to make a difference somehow. And I don't care if I only impact one person for 1 second. If they get one nugget out of what we talk about on the show, that show is a success. So there's my rant for a couple of seconds, and absolutely the truth, and
I totally agree with everything you said.
Yeah, no,
love it, Barbara. You always dropping golden nuggets. You always dropping golden nuggets. Yes. And one thing I wanted to. Oh, go ahead.
Nope. Go.
Oh, I was going to say that just what you were saying about, just touching at least one person. It's all about going again. And you might have mentioned this, building the relationship. That's really the new form of currency right now, to be honest with you. Right. I mean, I know people get those email addresses, those are dollar signs, and they're right, because once you get a person's email, you can start talking to them. That's building that relationship, not just selling, but building. So when you touch people and you resonate, you're building those relationships. That's golden.
Right. And part of it too, and this is one of the things that Alex is going to cover, is that it's how you show up for it. How you show up for that relationship. And I'm the first to admit that I have dropped the ball on a few relationships. And a year later I've gone, I never got back to you on that.
Yeah.
That happens.
Yeah.
The thing is, though, success is not just about sending messages. It's about fostering those relationships. Yeah. And that's what it is so about. It is so about is fostering those relationships to find out what people are talking about for themselves. And then if you can show them how you can impact what they're talking about, what they're needing, that's when you're going to have a successful relationship. And it's not about making a sale, or not about, it's about caring and being curious about what's going on in their life. And eventually it'll all come around. I think it's Zig Ziglar. I love his quote. When you help enough people get what they want, you'll automatically get what you want. And that's
what you just did it in a nutshell with that quote. You just did it in a nutshell with that quote, because the more you build the relationships and they get to know you and you get to know each other and help and serve each other, it's going to be so much easier when you come out, like if you have a webinar or whatever you're doing, because now you build a relationship and it's something that they see that they need, and it's coming from somebody that they really trust and like and believe in. Yeah.
And that they can relate to.
And resonate.
A friend of mine and I, we were talking, and he was talking about how he loves to pull apart games. And I said, well, I'm not in your audience. There's no way. I mean, I play cards. That's about it. But these fantasy games, no clue. Nor do I want to have a clue. It's not something that interests me. And yet he loves doing it. He loves the challenge. I said, well, then, this is what you do. This is how you approach people. You look for the people that want that same challenge, and you connect with them. And he was like, oh yeah, who knew? So anyway, so yeah, so we know we do have to go to our little
Well,
our
we're gonna
audience,
go.
our sponsors, but you know what? But the thing is, though, when we can move beyond simply putting ourselves out there and start building the connections that drive real growth.
Yes.
That's what Alex is going to be talking about, and he's going to be sharing stuff that we can do to do that.
Yeah.
Because I love talking to him. So
yeah, the thing that, and I know that Alex is going to be, because he's an expert of himself, and I mean, just meeting him, I can see what he's doing. I looked at what he does, and one thing I always ask somebody, you talk about numbers real quick, and I know he's going to be talking about LinkedIn and some other things. Building that relationship when you have 10K people in Facebook, LinkedIn, wherever it's at. I always ask this question to people: how many of those people do you know? Do you know? Right. How many of those people that you can sit there and say, this person, Barbara Ellison, I know through my 10K? How many people might be your potential clients or just investors or whatever for your company? And we know what I get every time I ask that question? Every time. I don't know. You know, do you even know 10 of the 10K people that are your numbers?
How many of them are you actually impacting?
Yes. And they're like, they go back to what they go back to, Barbara. I got 10K. Okay. Right. So with that, we're going to talk to Alex. We're going to get some more information from him with the whole LinkedIn and just building this relationship moving forward. But we got to hear from our wonderful sponsors. So we will be right back.
Friday, everyone. Your real worth isn't defined by your net worth. What makes you valuable is how you use what you have been given. All of us have gifts. Make sure you're making the most of yours. Have an amazing Friday.
It is now the bottom of the hour. I'm excited to welcome Nancy Matthews to our program today. Nancy is an author of a book. I'm going to go ahead and highlight it in the carousel for you guys. There it is, The One Philosophy. I want to talk to Nancy not only about the re-release of the book, but also what it's been like for her to share the message with all of you guys. Nancy, great to have you on with us.
Hello, hello, hello. So happy to be here.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hello.
Barbara's, thank you so much for having me. This is good stuff.
Well, thank you. Well, I want to say, because I'm so excited, I'm like a little kid in the candy store. We're global with Alex. He's in another country. Yay. I love saying that.
I made it.
We got family in all different countries. Yeah. So thank you, Alex, so much for coming on. And nice to
for having me.
First time. Yep.
100%. So, I just want to say, really appreciate being on the show. I've had a conversation with Barbara. I'm going to bring this up as much as possible, but Barbara Ellison, we've been in a conversation for about 10 years. 10 years on LinkedIn. When I first started off my career in sales, I sent her a message. Right, and that's how the conversation started. To now, where it is that I'm on your podcast and I'm actually being able to talk about sales. I'm at that point where I can give people knowledge about LinkedIn and how to sell on LinkedIn. So this is a real pleasure for me today.
Yes. Well, I'm going to be taking notes. I'm telling you right now, Alex, because I've moved, just to let you know, I found a new niche now. Before, I used to be on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram, but I'm really moving a lot more and focusing a lot more on LinkedIn. Yeah.
Me
Just
too.
because of the things I've changed with my brain and everything, a lot of things I'm seeing, that's where it looks like my potential, relationships are building in that area. So when Barbara said you were coming on and you're the LinkedIn guru and all that kind of stuff, I was like, oh, Barbara, thank you so much. You gave me a gift. Yeah. So Alex, before we start, Barbara always knows this. I always ask all our guests I like to pull that, the background and say, okay, what made you, you're this expert, you're doing this, you're helping people with sales, LinkedIn, all that stuff. But what made you just say, I want to get into this, or how did you start?
What's my why, basically?
What is your why?
So I started off in sales 10 years ago. My grandmother she's actually an entrepreneur, and I picked up pretty much from what she was doing, and I think that just had a huge impact on me, that I wanted to go into sales. I did engineering. That wasn't a fit for me. Graduated, but I said, you know what, sales is a better approach. I got into sales 10 years ago, and I tried to figure it out. I had a few mentors along the way. And along that way, I was having a hard time trying to figure out, how do I sell? How do I make conversations? How do I come off not being too salesy? So this is more of a passion of mine, that I'm able to talk to people and say, hey, this is what you can do, versus trying to spam your entire network. That is my why. I want to be able to give people, or have people have better conversations on LinkedIn, rather than saying, buy my book, buy my service. I want to spam you for the next 3 months. That's what I want us to avoid, doing.
You know what? I'm so glad you said that, Alex, because everything you just said, I know Barbara tested this too. We get that all the time. I mean, every morning I wake up at LinkedIn, I see all these messages, and I always tell that story, Barbara. You know the story about that one person hit me up and said, oh, I want to sell you this and stuff. And they were selling basically, and I know this is a family show, but basically they were selling condoms.
Yeah.
Enhancement for men, to enhance. And first I was like, okay, did they see that I'm a woman? Did they understand that first? Did they even look at my profile? Did they read what I'm about?
That's part of the bigger problem. They don't do the research. They just want to spam everyone and think something's going to stick on the wall. And something might stick, but it's not going to smell nice, if you know what I mean.
That's good. That's good. I like that.
Yeah. Although I have been known to, for some of those ones, those spammy messages, once in a while, if it's sort of something that it's like, oh yeah, hey, you know what? I already have that service in place. Would you be, I've now read your post. Now, once you read mine,
exactly.
And because you do never know. I mean, are you happy with it? I tried to start a conversation with you. Do you like doing business this way?
Yeah.
Or would you be open to doing business a little bit different way? That's more about relationships. That's more about, finding your right fit.
Yeah.
That's so right.
That's
right.
True.
You want to be able to have a conversation with people in the LinkedIn DMs. You'll get people pitching you, but part of the problem here as well is they don't know how to sell better, and that's where Barbara said, let's have a conversation. Let me teach you something. This is not the way. This is not the way for you to do it. Don't spam me.
Just like you said, Alice, your heart is like, how do I sell without sounding salesy? And I always go back to the whole thing about and I hate to talk about it because some some car sales are not like that. So I got to give them some love. But with my experience, every car that I bought in my life, it's that car salesy thing. And I just like, I even tell them now, I'm like, don't even approach me. I know what you're about to do, because they just go into it and attack like that. So, and people, I think that they get that, and people do that in their business sometimes. They just go into that sales attack, and it's like, that is not it. That is not going to get me. No.
And one of the funny stories that I had one day, it was a timeshare. And so my husband and I, we had signed up for it, and we went to the video and all the whole 9 yards. But then we realized, this is not the kind of we listened to the presentation, but it was like, yeah, no, this is not something that we want to do. This isn't for us. This particular timeshare. We did eventually buy a timeshare, but not that one. Anyways, so I just said, you know what, gee, thank you so much, but we have to go. And he looked at me and he said, what do you mean you have to go? I haven't done my sales presentation yet. I said, well, you might not be done, but I am. And he was like, I'm not done yet. You can't leave. I'm like, well, you might not be done with that.
He's gonna hold you two hostage. You're gonna stay here until you hear my sales pitch. I don't care. Yeah, we gave you
exactly his attitude. And I just, said, you know what? No, this is not for me. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm definitely not going to waste my time.
Yeah. So Alex, you see, there's a lot of help that's needed for a lot of people when it comes to sales.
There's a lot of help. A lot of people on LinkedIn don't know how to sell. LinkedIn is one of the biggest platforms, and you'll probably hear everyone saying this, the biggest platform for B2B lead generation. Why? Because everyone's there showing up professionally. Everyone has it's sales. LinkedIn is sales. There's just no way to escape it. And one thing about LinkedIn is it's changed so much over the years. If you look back 10 years ago at LinkedIn, it is not how it looks right now. People were not posting. It literally looked like a resume, and that's changed. Everything
is only a way to get a job. That's the only thing you put out there was to get a job.
Yeah,
exactly.
Right. It's changed a huge. Yeah, it really. Yeah.
And now we're at the stage of people showing up. I need to show up. I need to be this person. I need to show people who I am. That is what LinkedIn is at this point. Being a face to everyone else, what you're selling. So it makes it easier for people to approach you. If you're talking about podcasts, I know what Barbara is doing because she talks about it. If somebody's talking about, let's say, a lead generation service, they talk about that all the time. I know what they're doing. I know I can go to them to help. That's their beacon.
Yeah.
That's them representing themselves, and that is the way to sell. You want to be able to educate people on LinkedIn without being able to sell them. Not be too direct.
Yeah.
And I think one of my biggest things that I've really embraced and learned is give value. Give value for what you're doing. It doesn't matter whether you're selling a widget or if you're selling, in my case, a wellness product or coaching to help you to retire more happily. I can't talk. More happily. That's not good English. Anyways, but those kinds of things.
Yeah.
Of adding value, those little things that you can do to make your life easier, more efficient, whatever it is.
Yeah, I like that. And just to add to that, I was going to say, because what you just said, Alex, too, about people showing up, showing themselves, talking about what they talk about. They're building their expertise within what they do. So exactly what they do, like you said. You know exactly what they would give you if you work with them, whatever you're doing with them, not just a client. Because sometimes you build a relationship, it don't have to just be a client. I tell people that can be an investor for your company. You don't even know if you build the relationship right. You don't know what millionaire you be talking to.
Yeah.
And if they hear and they see that you're genuine, they see that you're showing up, they see that you're consistent. See, they look for those qualities and say, okay, would I invest money in that company? Would I invest money in Alex? You never know who you're going to get out there. So that's why I always tell people, when you show up and give that value. Now, I always tell people, if you can give value, don't give the YouTube, Google University value, because anybody can go out there and get that. I always tell people, if you be unique with your value, don't sit there and be like, okay, well, I could have got that from AI, or I could have got that from blah, blah, blah. And people know that now. Before, people could hide it a little bit. Now it's like it's so much out there with technology and stuff. People are like, oh, I just read that the other day. She just picked up something from wherever,
Right.
Some chat GPT stuff that they created, and they're just sharing everything on LinkedIn. That's what's being done right now, and it's insane the amount of stuff that's being put out into the ether, it's too much sometimes. It's like, what is the right stuff versus what's not. And
Yeah.
it's aside from doing the content, posting content is great. It's definitely a way to get your face out there. People can see, oh, I want to work with Barbara, I want to work with Alex, because like you said, he's a genuine person. Barbara knows her stuff. She has guests coming on. I want to be the next guest. But a part of that, a big part of doing content is doing some of the engagement, right? Some people
Right.
will argue with me on this point, but I am very pro having conversations in the DM. My content will only get me so far,
Yeah.
but I want to be able to go out and find people to say, hey, do you need this type of service? Or people that are engaging with my content, hey, is there something that I can do to help you?
Mm-hmm.
We've interacted at some point, right? How can I help you? How can you help me?
Mm-hmm.
Basically, that's another way. People often will post a lot on LinkedIn. You'll see this too. People try to get vanity metrics. They'll try to aim for 20,000 impressions. They'll try to have 10,000 connections. And like Barbara mentioned early on, how many of those people do you even know? Do you even talk to those people? Right? I I
Right.
100% agree that I would prefer to have less followers and have more impact at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
I say that having 14,000 connections, but that's only because I've been around for a long time. So
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And the numbers are used for different ways. Like I said it in that aspect, like, okay, who do you know out of those numbers? So that's one aspect. But the other aspect of having a lot of numbers, like on your LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever, 10K or whatever you want to say, some people are looking to see how many people that you're drawing attention to. So if they come on, like say your show, and you're hooking it up to your Facebook group and you only have 10 people, they're going to look at that number. You can't get away from the numbers. Sometimes numbers, like people say, numbers don't lie to a certain extent. So if you're trying to like say, okay, I will pull you on my podcast, and on my network for LinkedIn, I have 10K, that looks good in other person's eyes, because they're like, oh, they got 10K. That's on this other side of having the good numbers, because people are looking for that to come on, whatever. But on the other side of the fence, like I said before, do you know any of those 10K? That's for you to,
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. Because if you're only judging your worth, and part of it comes back to what you and I talk about so often. If you're only judging your worth by how many followers you have,
yeah, you can't do it.
And you're trying to be somebody that you're not, because you want to be the next, Richard Brunson, or, whatever, then yeah, that's no.
It was, yeah.
Be your true self and
Exactly.
help those people that
gonna
want, that's what I said to one of my guys the other day. I said, put out content that so people can know what you do, because then you're looking for people who want what you have to offer.
Yeah. And it won't probably be such a hard sell. Well, we're putting sales there to a certain extent.
And then it's not really
a hard sale, because they know, like you just said, Alex, earlier, they know what you do. They know what you, like you said, your passion. They see it in everything you're doing. So they can't sit there, like if you're doing LinkedIn, and you're talking about LinkedIn, you're talking about how to sell on there, you're talking about be authentic on LinkedIn, with LinkedIn. They're not going to come to you and say, hey, Alice, I want to buy golf clubs from you. Well, I don't sell golf clubs. And you should know that. All this stuff I'm putting out here, why are you coming about golf clubs? So that's
people do.
And people do. Well, yes, some people do want the golf club. I'm like, did I say golf club?
Did you not read my profile?
Did you see my videos? Did you read my articles? What are you doing?
Yeah.
But yeah. That's people not paying attention.
That goes into another thing, Barbara. So when you want to be able to post on LinkedIn, you want to be able to post with a clear idea of what you want to do. You just don't want to be able to post about too many random things. You don't want to cater to everyone. You want to be able to cater to maybe a niche, because the wider you go, people start coming to you and saying, hey, do you sell golf clubs? Basically, right? Because they don't know what you're actually doing. And ends up being a problem on LinkedIn. Are you clear with your messaging?
Yes.
Barbara Ellison, we know for a fact she does podcasts. Why would I go to her saying, "Hey, Barbara, can you do a commercial for me? On NBC or something like that?" No, unless she's talking about it, then there's going to be some confusion there. That's one of the biggest problems right now on LinkedIn. The second would be relying too much on automation. Everyone is getting automation. Hey, Barbara, thanks for connecting. 1 minute later, hey, I see that you're X, Y, and Z, 10 years at the company. Do you want to have a chat for this service? 2 days later, you get another message pitching. Like, oh my gosh, when does it stop? Right? There's a right way to do automation and a wrong way to do it. And a lot of people are doing it the wrong way. So that's the second problem that we're seeing a lot on LinkedIn. The third would be ignoring some of those engagement data. You see who's liking, you see who's engaging with your stuff. Are you reaching out to them? Are you hitting the great areas like I like to talk about? Are you having a conversation with them saying, hey, Michael, thanks for viewing my profile. Was there anything that piqued your interest, that maybe it was one of my videos, that you wanted to talk about? So these are some areas that you can work on, some areas that you want to ignore, and some areas that you want to improve on. And you'll see it a lot on LinkedIn too.
I like that. That's some good. I like that. Now, the question I want to ask, going back to when you said engaging, that's so important. It's one thing to put everything out there, but if you're not talking to anybody, it's like they're having a one-way conversation. I always tell people, it's like, okay, they're trying to talk to you by giving you, even with the thumbs up and the hearts and the hands, that's engaging. I keep telling people that. And I said, there's a way. Well, I know on Facebook, there's a way you can look at names. I think on LinkedIn too. I don't know for sure, but on LinkedIn, I was going to ask you, there's this thing called the Sales Navigator, and I know it gives you more information on the people that are really watching or viewing your profile. Would you basically say to invest in that, or maybe something like another tool?
So I 100% support Sales Navigator. I'm not a I'm not a referral partner, but I use it. It works really good for me. One of the reasons why it works for me is I'm able to get more data. I'm able to see who's active on LinkedIn, who's posting on LinkedIn. That is helpful for me as a person that does LinkedIn services. Like, are you posting? Are you not posting? I can figure out, you might need a service like this that you can start engaging with your audience. You can start getting out your content out there. So all of that data is super important to me. And I would suggest, hopping on the Sales Navigator train if you haven't already.
Yeah, because I think a long time ago they had like a free trial, but at that time, see, this is bad. I got the free trial. I should have waited till I had just a little bit time.
They get you.
Go into it. Yeah, I did it, and then I left it alone. And then they said, "Oh, your free trial's over." I'm like, "Dad, I didn't get a chance to."
Yeah, I was like, I know.
But yeah, I hear a lot of good things about that. Where, like you said, now for you, I know you work with LinkedIn. That's what your baby is, that you help people. Now, us, like myself and the other Barbara, would that help a lot with our business? Any kind of business? I'm just saying in general to help with what we're doing too.
100%. So, you're able to find people that would fit your ICP. You can reach out to them, have a conversation with them. Some industries are a little bit harder than others. That's a fact. Health and fitness is a harder one to get into. You're able to close clients with any industry. It just takes determination and consistency, and just believing in what you do, honestly. So I've seen a lot of different industries use LinkedIn for sales, and they've gotten sales, big deals, because one of the ways that they've been able to do that is staying consistent and having conversations with people. If you're not doing that, you can't expect food to be on the table. You got to get out there. Somebody told me recently, if you're not hunting, who's going to put the food on the table?
And one of the things that I have found effective for me is that, because like I'll schedule my post to go out 45 minutes from now. Say I'm doing it now. And in that 45 minutes, I'm liking and commenting and engaging people. And from that, I have gotten so many great content contacts, because I've been liking on theirs and they're liking back on me, and they're let's connect and let's see. Gee, and I've gotten podcasts and I've gotten guests and I've been on, and that's how I was on our last podcast, and that's what happened. I was liking and commenting on her stuff. And she said, "Oh," and she looked at my stuff and she said, "Oh, I want to have you on my podcast." And we've had them, her and her partner, on our podcast. That's how it works, people.
And that is called reciprocating the love. You want to be able to give people love back, so they give it back. You don't expect it, but you're putting out something out there into the universe, and somebody or someone's going to see it, and they're going to say, "Hey, what is Barbara doing? Let me reach out to her." And the conversations just flow so naturally after that.
Yeah. I like that. That's one thing. You talking about lead generation a little bit. I know you do work with LinkedIn, and what I found that kind of works a little bit with building a relationship is like what kind of Barbara does. Because I know you have other shows too, and I have other shows. So I don't even sell when I go into that DMs. I be like, you know what? I looked at your profile and I kind of mentioned some things so they know that I read the profile and they know that I know them a little bit. And I said, I would love to have you on my podcast. You would be a great fit, because I spotlight coaches, I spotlight consultants, and I want to spotlight you. And I'm telling you, as soon as I say it like that, they come right back, because they're probably looking at, oh, she's trying to sell me something, or what is this, or da 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 da. But I don't even charge for them to be on the podcast. I just want them to just give them highlight, because that's what I do in my business, is do the visibility, is make people, bigger and everything. So a lot of times people like, yeah, of course, give me your link. And I didn't put the link in there yet. I said, I want to ask your permission,
right,
to put the link there to schedule on the podcast. But if you don't want it, I totally get it. So I want to be I'm always trying to be curt, really nice to say. And the most of the time, 90% of the time, people don't want to say no to getting more visibility wherever it's at, if they can get it, especially if you're talking about them.
Well, one of the things that I have found effective for me too is just do a swap. Hey, I'll do this for you. Do you want to do this? Let's look and see how we can collaborate with each other. And this is your field of expertise. This is my field of expertise. How can we join forces, or can we do a podcast swap? I'll come on yours, you come on mine. Absolutely, but have a conversation with them.
Yeah,
I found out the hard way that partly the hard way. One of our firsts, and she was not a good guest, because I had not talked to her enough to realize that she was not going to be a good guest.
Yeah, that's why
We've had very few of them. Not
that many, yeah.
But we have had a couple. Didn't spend enough time seeing if they were going to be a good guest.
I have a question out there for you and Alice about that, what you just mentioned about the swap, because I used to do that and then I stopped. And the reason why I kind of stopped, because if they're not if their podcast or whatever is not leaning into what I'm kind of doing and trying to focus on, then why am I even wasting the time to be on there? I know for my show, I can bring on any coach or whatever, because it's called the Coaches Lounge. I basically give highlights for coaches. So I don't care what you do. My show will probably fit you, because I'm spotlighting what you do for people. But when they're just talking about golf clubs, I know I keep going back to that. I don't know why golf clubs are in my head. I don't think I want to be on their show. I don't like golf. I'm not going to talk about golf.
You're not going to, right. Exactly. That's like with me. I'll look and see what kind of a podcast that they have. I'll listen to part of it. I will listen to a couple of snippets out of different ones.
Do the research.
And do some research. And there have been a couple that's like, not going to go, and not even going to remotely.
Yeah,
not even remotely offer to do a swap, and nor is that kind of a podcast who I want to be associated with.
Yeah,
we all have our own tastes, and we all have our own
values of what we're doing.
And it was like, no.
And you speak on a good point, because that is figuring out who your ICP is, your ideal client, persona, right? So why would we want to have people on the podcast that it has no relation to what you're doing? You have to know when to say no to bad fit clients, right? And it just it might not be a fit right now or ever, and that's okay. That's just how it is. We have to know, when to say no to some of these people, right? And that's part of growing on LinkedIn. We learn from our mistakes, and that's just how it is sometimes, you
Yeah.
know. And to go into something else, to just I know we're nearing the time here, but just to go over a few points. One thing that you're probably so used to seeing right now is AI. AI is everywhere at this hour.
Yeah.
Everywhere. People are using it to do outreach messages. It's again, if you
Images.
don't know, images, videos, it's pretty much everywhere. So this is going to sound cliche, but the one that figures out how to use AI is going to come out on top versus saying AI is going to take over my job. That's just not how it is. It's going to be. If you figure out how to use ChatGPT to figure out how to write out your messaging and whatnot, that use AI to help you.
Yeah.
Just don't
Right.
depend on it too much.
Yes.
That's going to be a problem.
Yeah, I'm glad you said that, Alex, because a lot of people, I mean, like all of us probably, I mean, we all use AI,
We all use it.
whatever it is, just to get met, because it's so much time. Because first of all, just the timing of something that took forever, now it doesn't take that long. I mean, that alone helps. But like you said, you still have to make sure your uniqueness is in what you're putting in there, message, what newsletter, whatever you're doing, because first of all, people can spot it a mile away.
Right.
I mean,
The
any
dash.
image now that's on any social media, the images I'm seeing right now, Alex, Barbara, I can tell just like this now is AI. I was like, this AI. And it seemed like when I see that, for some reason, my whole, like, I don't, I'm like, can we be unique here? Can we do something a little bit,
And there have been times where I have used an AI photo because it just gets like, ooh, it came up and it was like spoke to me. And yet there have been other times it's like, ooh, there's no way I would. Oh yeah, no. And that's also with, like, sometimes once in a while you'll hear a message, you'll get a message from somebody and go, oh yeah, what should I say back? And I'll use it for that and then say, okay, yeah, no, I wouldn't say that. And they know I wouldn't say that, so I'm not going to use that. So, but you get to try again. Hey, give me something that's warmer or more caring or softer or whatever. And then it'll be like, oh, and then I'll take like one phrase and go, oh, I can build on that that resonates with me and my personality. It's a tool. It's not the end be all and end all. And which some people are doing.
Like Alex, like you said, when you can conquer AI that is used to do what you need to do instead of it taking you over, because a lot of people, that's the first thing they go, oh my God, no more jobs. I won't have a job. AI's will take over the robots. Right. Oh, they're coming, and you had to look at it in a different sense. See, that's when you got to say, okay, let me flip that. And how can I use this in my business as a tool to get me moving forward and to be more of everything that I need to do for myself?
Exactly. How can I use AI to empower what I'm already doing?
Yeah, there we go.
How can I? Exactly.
You hit it right on the head.
And the last thing I want to touch on before we close off, and is, well, it is your show. I'm just saying.
I said he just keeps closing himself off.
You can keep asking me questions. That's fine. So one thing that I want to go over though is LinkedIn algorithm. You'll hear it a lot too. So the LinkedIn algorithm is, again, last year maybe videos is working. This year text post is working. Polls are working pretty good. That's getting a lot of really good engagement from what I'm seeing. I tend to do a lot of polls just to get people's thoughts, and you'll see that people get value out of it. And there's ways to go around using the polls to interact with people, but that's for another conversation. But what I'm saying is yeah, for sure. And what I'm saying is, what worked last year might not work this year, and the same thing goes on. So we always have to learn and grow from the data. Last year we saw videos got a huge spike. some posts got 200,000 impressions for some people, not me, but some people got huge impressions. And this year they're complaining, oh, I'm getting 15,000 impressions, da da da.
Yeah.
Well, it's just how LinkedIn is. You just have to move with it. You just have to go along with it. And it's a platform like anything else. Just move with the times.
It's forever changing. That's what I know. And that's just not LinkedIn, like you said. That's like all platforms.
Right.
You know,
everything.
All business. Anything in business.
Businesses. Mm-hmm.
Business
Right.
is always changing.
Yeah.
So,
That's why we have to get somebody like Alex, and he can keep us with the trends.
I'll
Alex,
take it.
we got to do, next, we got to do another show. Alex number 2. We really got to bring him back, Barbara.
Yep, absolutely.
Truly.
I'll be by the beach the next time, hopefully,
Don't do that to us.
Yeah, it's -7 here today. I don't want to.
Ooh.
Well, I'm 6.
You're -6
degrees.
Oh, yes, -7
degrees. You're -7?
I'm minus.
Oh,
You're
so I'm ahead of you. I'm 6 above.
Yeah, no.
Is that in Fahrenheit?
Fahrenheit.
What? That's crazy. Right now, we're 82 degrees Fahrenheit.
What? I'm gonna do the same thing like you just did, Alex. What? Don't say that.
That is insane.
Get away from me, Alex. Don't tell me that. 82. Barbara, you're negative, Barbara. At least I'm still on a positive. I'm like, it's 6.
Negative.
That's a heat wave right now. Okay. Alex like, I don't know about that, right?
I'm good over here, so.
Yeah, I know you are.
Yeah.
See, appreciate where you're at.
Exactly. Yeah.
I'm happy.
Yeah. So, Alex, we got to bring you back, Barbara. Any lasting thoughts before we close today?
Yeah. Just, if you're listening to this, just reach out to Alex. I mean, if you have a thing that you're doing that you want to do it easier and better, and reach out to the experts that we bring on.
Yes.
And just have a conversation. Have a conversation. It starts there, because you might get one tip that, oh yeah, that's going to change your business forever. So yeah, just reach out.
Just reach out to Alex, and he has more than one tip.
More than one tip.
See everybody next Wednesday with our next.
Bye, everybody.
Take care. Thank you, Alex.
Thanks for having me.
Well, goodbye, everybody, and thank you so much for listening to the Time to Shine Happiness Show. I'm your host, Barbara Ellison, and I look forward to seeing you next time, where we will have a great guest talking about making happiness the norm rather than the exception. Because we believe that each and every one of us deserves to lead a happy, healthy, debt-free, abundant life, whatever that means to you. So join us again. And please, to get reminded, hit the subscribe button or the like button wherever you're listening to us, and we will see you next time. Have a great week. Bye, everybody.